Hi, my name is Igor Kafetz, and this is the List Building Lifestyle, the only podcast which delivers cutting-edge conversion strategies from the online trenches straight to your earbuds. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. I also invite you to grab a free copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. And now, once again, it's time to claim your list building lifestyle. Welcome back to another edition of the List Building Lifestyle with your host, Igor Kafetz. Now, this whole idea of recording the podcast while playing video games is becoming sort of a tradition, but today I'm changing things up and I'm actually playing FIFA, courtesy of my friend David D, who was kind enough to download on his Xbox because I don't happen to own one. Now, the reason I don't own an Xbox at this point is because I've owned a bunch of PlayStations. I gave some of those away. One I literally stabbed with like a knife shaped thing because I lost a game of FIFA because I'm a sore loser. So eventually, my wife and I agreed that it's best if I did not have that thing in the house. And incidentally, the moment you don't own a PlayStation or an Xbox, you have lots and lots of free time on your hands to do other things. But anyway, since I am recording the podcast, I thought, okay, no harm if I'm actually playing, and we're doing FIFA today. So if you hear any background noise, any crowds cheering, or any Russian swear words, know that it's all about the FIFA. Now, in this episode, I want to chat about something that I've actually never heard anyone else talk about. However, that is a very profound part of success when it comes to, improving yourself or bettering yourself for the purpose of making more money and Igor scores. Yes, and this is, of course, reading, right? I mean, if you ever watched any video sales letter or any presentation by a guru, there's a good chance you've seen one where the guru stands in front of a huge library and basically implying, look at all the books I've read, look how smart I am, look how much I've learned and invested in myself, and sort of encouraging you to do the exact same thing. Now, on one hand, this is a correct philosophy. If you want to improve, if you want to get better results in life, you should read books. And I personally put more value on books than I do on coaching and information products because somehow, for me at least, the things I learn in books stick much, much, much better. Not to mention that a lot of times, information products or mentoring courses, for some reason, they don't really give you the full picture. Maybe, I don't know. The book is supposed to give you an idea, right? The book is not supposed to even claim to give you a system, more like an idea, and it's exactly what it gives you. And usually these ideas end up reshaping your life. Now, the problem, however, with books is that once you understand the concept that, hey, if there is a problem that I have, there's probably been someone who attempted to solve it, and if they did solve it, they probably wrote a book about it. I think Will Smith was the one to say that reading and running are the two things you need to do if you want to be successful in life, because if there's, I think he said it, if there's someone who had the same problem as you and they solved it, they wrote a book about it, and if you learn to run and not give up, then you'll never give up on your way to success. Cool. But what happens is, at least what happened for me was, as soon as I discovered this, groundbreaking idea that I could read my way to success, the reflex that I had was to simply read as many books as possible, as fast as humanly possible. Now, this meant that I've committed to reading about a book a week, on a good week. And that's challenging for one, but, even when I was able to pull that off, the problem I stumbled into was the fact that I was consuming so much information from so many different authors that, it sort of became more like a consumption exercise and not an exercise in achieving success. A lot of that information sort of mixed up in my mind, and it created paralysis. The paralysis we all know as the shiny object syndrome, when you're basically buying a lot of stuff and maybe watching and consuming a lot of stuff, but you're not necessarily taking a lot of action. So that's the problem with reading. and this problem cannot be ignored by anyone who wants to achieve any measurable and meaningful results in their life and their business. So what do you do? What you do is you read selectively and you stick to the material within your particular niche. So, for example, if you'd like to master list building, then you stick to books about perhaps funnels, building lists, email marketing, and things that are directly related to that. You don't go consuming books about the e-commerce revolution, Bitcoin, and all that stuff. Like, don't mix it up. You also want to sort of make sure you're consuming books by authors that have similar, if not identical, point of view. Now, of course, you say, Igor, well, what's the point? Like, what's the point reading things that are basically reiterations of the exact same thing from different authors? Well, the point is that you never really remember or internalize anything from the first exposure to the material anyway. So by reading books that are pretty much saying the exact same thing, maybe in just a slightly different way, what you're doing is you're reinforcing what you've learned in order to be able to better implement it in your life and your business. Now, the other thing that happens is a lot of times it takes more than a couple of exposures to really understand what the meaning of things. Like, there's quite a few things in my business that I've only grasped several years after I got first exposed to the knowledge, and oftentimes, that aha moment came by kind of reading the same thing, okay, but like it's sounding a little bit different, just coming at it from a different angle. Again, so when we talk about internalizing things and really registering what you're learning, repetition is not a bad thing. And repetition with, from a different angle is probably even better than that. The other thing you have to remember when it comes to reading as well is that as you go, you change. And everything you perceive as a person is internal. In other words, like nothing that we see or understand in this world is actually the way it is. Most of the times it kind of goes through a series of filters in our mind, and we perceive it through like existing biases that we have, right? So for example, if I have a bias that says all Russians are drunks, there's a good chance that all I will see pretty much all day long. Now, what does that mean to you as far as reading? Well, what it means is that when you read a book today, you kind of understand it a certain way, and you maybe internalize like a good 10% of it. But when you reread the same book a year from today, when you are a different person, especially if you're continuously striving to change and improve yourself, then what happens is you all of a sudden learn new things. All of a sudden you realize that you've missed quite a few golden nuggets that that just didn't register the first time. Okay, now since that's the case, it really serves you to reread the exact same thing several times with like an interval in between those instances. For example, if you read a book about copywriting and you go into the real world and you write some copy, you run a few tests, you see what works, what doesn't work, you build a few funnels and you fail miserably, and then you reread the same book, all of a sudden, simply because you have real world experience to base your comparisons to, you will be able to learn much more from the exact same book you've already read. Again, makes perfect sense when I probably say it out loud like that, but it really doesn't register. It didn't register with me the first time I started reading, and I really wish I understood that, because I read books such as Predictably Irrational when I was just starting out, which is a great book about why people, well, not really why people do things a certain way, but just how stupid people can get and how irrational they can get when it comes to making decisions, and especially buying decisions. But there was no way for me to internalize even, I don't know, 15% from that book, simply because I did not have the real world experience to base my comparisons on, etc. So by rereading the book later, I have learned a lot, even though again, when I was picking up the book, I already knew that I read it. So my point with this podcast episode is very, very simple. It's very easy to get stuck in the pattern of consumption. It's very easy to figure out that, hey, the secret to success is just learning and learning and learning, but it's not. It's really not. It's not about learning and learning. It's about application, application, a little bit of learning, but then back to application, application again. Because you always learn from your own mistakes more than you will ever learn by reading a book. Again, you have to like balance this out and remember that it's not to say that you don't learn at all from reading. It's just most people are incapable of learning from reading because they either don't really even understand what they're reading in the first place, or they simply do not have a way to internalize it through just simply reading about it. They really need that real world application in order to benefit from the knowledge they get in the book. So that pretty much concludes today's episode of the List Building Lifestyle. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now that we're finishing it up, I'm leading 2-1 against Manchester City, which of course is not the way it happened recently between Manchester United and Manchester City in real life. But that's why we got video games, so we can do things that feel good. So anyway, have a good one, stay perky, and keep on marketing. This is Igor, and I'm out. Bye. Thank you for listening to the List Building Lifestyle. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play to never miss an episode. Because who knows, just one conversion tactic we share on the show might double your list and double your business. Download the transcript of today's episode and all future episodes at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com. And don't forget to claim your complimentary copy of the Wealthy List Builder Survival Guide at listbuildinglifestyleshow.com/survival. This is Igor Kafetz, and until next time we talk, have a good one.